Ambassador Jin Ho walked through the massive doors of the Galaxy Council chamber. His heart was beating fast, but he kept his face calm. The chamber was huge, bigger than any building he had ever seen on Earth. The walls were made of strange glowing crystal that seemed to pulse with its own light. High above him, the ceiling disappeared into darkness. Hundreds of alien beings filled the chamber. Some looked like giant insects with multiple arms and legs. Others were blob-like creatures that changed shape as they moved. There were beings made of pure energy that flickered like flames, and others that looked like walking trees with eyes. Jin Ho had studied pictures of these species for months, but seeing them in person was still shocking. The air smelled strange, like electricity mixed with flowers. Jin Ho could hear the hum of translator devices as alien voices turned into words he could understand. Most of the words were not kinda tall. Being with 6 eyes and skin like polished metal stood on a platform in the center of the chamber. This was the council leader, the most powerful being in the known galaxy. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. Welcome. Species 7843, you call yourselves humans. Your planet Earth has requested membership in our great council today. We will decide if your species is worthy to join us. Jin Ho stepped forward. His simple blue Earth uniform looked plain and cheap compared to the golden robes and crystal armor worn by the other representatives. He felt like a child among giants, but he had to be brave. Earth was counting on him. Thank you, honored council leader, Jin Ho said. I am Ambassador Jin Ho, speaking for all humanity. We come in peace, seeking friendship and knowledge. The council leader made a sound that might have been laughter. 6 screens appeared in the air above Jin Ho, showing scenes from Earth. The first screen showed soldiers fighting in a war. The second showed factories pumping smoke into the sky. The third showed hungry children in poor countries. The fourth showed politicians arguing. The fifth showed cities full of garbage. The sixth showed forest being cut down. These images are from your world, the council leader said. Look at them carefully. This is what your species has done to its own planet. You fight endless wars. You poison your air and water. You let your own kind starve while others live in wealth. You cannot even agree on simple things like what government to have around the chamber. Alien voices rose in agreement. A creature that looked like a giant spider clicked its teeth. Your species has existed for only a few thousand years, and you have already nearly destroyed your world. A being made of living water rippled as it spoke. We have watched your species for 50 of your years. You show no signs of wisdom or growth. You are still the same violent creatures you were when you first discovered fire. The council leader raised one of his 4 arms for silence. We have rules. For membership in our council, a species must show 3 things. First, they must have peace on their homeworld. Second, they must show respect for all life. Third, they must have wisdom that comes from long experience. Jin Ho felt his throat go dry. He knew what was coming. Your species fails all 3 tests, the council leader continued. Your world has never known true peace. You destroy other life forms without thought. And your people live such short lives that you cannot gain real wisdom. Most of you die before you reach 100 years. We members of the council live for thousands of years. Some of us have existed since before your species learned to walk upright. A creature that looked like a giant butterfly fluttered its wings. Your technology is also primitive. You still burn chemicals to reach space. We travel between stars in the time it takes you to fly around your small planets. Another being shaped like a living mountain spoke with a voice like grinding rocks. Your minds are weak and confused. You cannot even communicate with each other. Without arguing, we can share thoughts across the galaxy. Jin Ho listened to each criticism, feeling smaller and smaller. These beings were right about many things. Humans did fight wars. Earth did have pollution. People did argue about everything. But there was something these aliens did not understand about humanity. Honored council, Jin Ho said when the voices died down. I do not disagree with your observations. Humans are not perfect. We have made mistakes. We have hurt our world and each other. But I ask you to consider something else. The council leader leaned forward. What could you possibly say to defend your inferior species? We may be young, but we never give up. Jin Ho said, his voice growing stronger. We may fight, but we also love. We may destroy, but we also create. Every human problem you have shown has humans working to fix it. Those wars you showed also showed humans helping wounded enemies, those polluted Cities also have humans cleaning them up. Those hungry children also have humans feeding them. The chamber grew quiet. The aliens seemed surprised that Jinho was still talking. When we face something impossible, we do not run away. We find a way to. When we see suffering, we try to help. When we discover something new, we share it with others. Yes, we are young. Yes, we make mistakes, but we learn from every mistake and become stronger. Being that looked like a walking crystal made a sound like breaking glass. Your species cannot even leave your own solar system properly. You are trapped on one small world in a galaxy of billions of stars. Jinho smiled. That is exactly why we want to join the council. We know we have much to learn. We know we are small compared to you, but we also know that our different way of thinking might help solve problems that seem impossible. Council leader eyes narrowed. What makes you think your primitive minds could help us because we think differently than you do? Jinho said, we are not connected by hive minds. We do not live for thousands of years. We do not have perfect technology, but sometimes the best solutions come from minds that see things in new ways. The chamber erupted in alien laughter. The sound was like a storm of different noises, clicking, hissing, buzzing, and roaring. The council leader raised his arms again. For silence, you speak of helping us solve problems. There is one problem that has faced the galaxy for over 2,000 years, a problem that our combined wisdom, technology, and power cannot solve. If your species is so clever, let us see what you can do. Jinho felt his stomach drop. He had hoped for a chance to prove humanity, but something in the council leader voice told him this would not be easy. What problem? Jinho asked. The Devourer fleet, the council leader said. The chamber fell completely silent. Jinho had heard whispers of the Devourer fleet, but he had hoped they were just stories, ancient machines that consumed entire worlds, leaving nothing behind. They had destroyed 17 civilizations and were moving toward inhabited space. The council leader smiled, showing teeth like black diamonds. Your test is simple. Stop the Devourer fleet, save the galaxy from destruction. Do this, and we will consider your membership. Do this, and we will admit that perhaps humans are not completely inferior. Jinho felt the weight of every alien gaze upon him. The Devourer fleet was supposed to be unstoppable. Even the Great Council had failed to stop them. How could humanity succeed where these advanced beings had failed? But as he looked around the chamber at all the alien faces, Jinho realized something important. These beings were all very similar in how they thought. They were logical, careful, and traditional. Humans were different. Humans were wild, creative, and willing to try crazy ideas. I accept the challenge, Jinho said. The council leader leaned back, clearly expecting Jinho to refuse. Very well. When you fail and your species is destroyed, remember that we offered you a chance to withdraw. We will not hold your foolishness against the other species of the galaxy. Jinho bowed formally. Thank you for this opportunity. We will not disappoint you. As he walked out of the chamber, Jinho heard the alien voices rising again. Most were making sounds of amusement. They thought they had just watched humanity sign its death warrant, but Jinho was already thinking about the impossible task ahead. The Devourer fleet was coming, and somehow humanity would have to find a way to stop them. It seemed hopeless, but humans had faced hopeless situations before. The real test was just beginning. The emergency meeting room deep inside Earth Command was filled with the most important people on the planet. General Hai Jin sat at the head of a long metal table. Her uniform was covered with medals from many wars, but her face looked worried. Commander Subin, the smartest military mind on Earth, was studying holographic displays that showed star maps and battle reports. Dr. Young Su, the head of Earth Research Division, was typing rapidly on his computer. His thick glasses reflected the glow from multiple screens filled with data. Captain Min, our Earth best pilot, leaned back in her chair, but her eyes were sharp and focused. She had flown missions that other pilots said were impossible. Ambassador Jinho stood at the front of the room, still wearing his diplomatic clothes from the council meeting. His face was pale, but his voice was steady as he explained what the Galaxy Council had demanded. They want us to stop the Devourer fleet, Jinho said. The words seemed to echo in the quiet room. General Haijin slammed her fist on the table, making everyone jump. Stop the Devourer fleet? Are they insane? Those machines have been destroying worlds for over 2,000 years. The entire Galaxy Council, with all their advanced technology and massive fleets, could not even slow them down. How do they expect us to succeed? Commander Subin was already pulling up files on the Devourer Fleet. The holographic display showed a massive swarm of dark ships moving through space. Like a cloud of death, each ship was the size of a small moon covered in weapons and armor that had never been damaged in battle. Look. At this data, Commander Subin said, pointing to the display, the Devourer Fleet has destroyed 17 different civilizations. Each civilization was more advanced than us. They had weapons we can only dream of. They had shields that could protect entire planets. They had fleets with millions of ships. Dr. Young Su looked up from his computer. The Devourers destroyed them all without losing a single ship, not one. The fleet just moves through space, consuming everything in its path. Planets, moons, asteroids, space stations, nothing can stop them. Captain Min stood up and walked to the display. These ships are huge, she said. Each one has more firepower than our entire space fleet combined, and there are thousands of them. Our best weapons would barely scratch their armor. General Haijin rubbed her forehead. This is suicide. The council knows we cannot win. They gave us this mission because they want us to fail. They want humanity destroyed so they never have to deal with us again. Jin Ho shook his head. I do not think so. When I looked into the council leader eyes, I saw something else. Fear. They are afraid of the Devourer Fleet too. It is getting closer to their worlds. They have tried everything and failed. Now, they are desperate enough to ask the species they consider inferior. Dr. Young Su was studying the data more carefully. Wait, he said suddenly. There is something strange here. The Devourer Fleet does not move randomly. Look at this pattern. The display changed to show the path the Devourer Fleet had taken over the past 1,000 years. It was not a straight line or a random search pattern. The fleet moved in a specific way, following routes that seemed to have meaning. They are following something, Dr. Young Su said excitedly. These are not random destroyers. They are following some kind of program or instruction. The question is, what, Commander? Subin leaned forward. Show me the attack patterns. How do they destroy each world? The display changed again, showing how the Devourer Fleet attacked planets. They did not simply blast everything with weapons. Instead, they sent smaller ships to the surface. These ships seemed to dig into the ground and extract something. The planets were left as empty husks with huge holes carved into their surface. They are not just destroying worlds, General Haijin said slowly. They are mining them, but mining for what? Dr. Young Su was typing frantically on his computer. I need more data. I need to study their patterns more carefully. There has to be a reason for their behavior. If we can understand what they want, we might be able to find a way to stop them. Captain Min was studying the size of the enemy fleet. Even if we figure out what they want, how do we fight them? We have maybe 200 space-worthy ships. They have thousands. Each of their ships could destroy our entire fleet. The room fell silent. Everyone knew the odds were impossible. Earth had been preparing for space warfare for only 50 years. The Galaxy Council species had been building fleets for thousands of years. If they could not stop the Devourers, how could humanity? General Haijin stood up and looked at each person in the room. We may not have their advanced technology, we may not have their experience, but we have something they do not have. What is that? Commander Subin asked. We have nothing to lose, General Haijin said. The council species have vast empires to protect. They fight carefully because they do not want to risk their worlds. We are already risking everything just by being here. That means we can try things they would never dare attempt. Dr. Young Su looked up from his computer. I think I found something. The Devourer Fleet is following quantum pathways, ancient routes through space that were created by some long-dead civilization. These pathways are like invisible roads through the galaxy. Jin Ho stepped forward. What does that mean? Means they might be following orders from their creators, Dr. Young Su said. If we can understand those orders, we might be able to change them, or at least disrupt them. Captain Min walked over to the star map. How long do we have before they reach Earth? Commander Subin checked the calculations. Based on their current speed, they will reach our solar system in 6 months. 6 months to solve a problem that has puzzled the galaxy for 2,000 years? General Haijin said. It sounds impossible. Jin Ho smiled slightly. That is exactly what the council is counting on. They think humans give up when things look hopeless. But they do not understand us. When things look impossible, that is when we work hardest. Dr. Young Su was already making plans. I need access to every piece of data about the Devourer Fleet. Every battle report, every scan, every observation made by any species in the galaxy. Commander Subin nodded. I will contact our LIC If any of the other young species have information the Council might have missed, Captain. Minna cracked her knuckles, and I will start preparing our pilots for the most dangerous mission in human history, General. Hyjin looked around the room at the determined faces. We may be facing the most powerful force in the galaxy, but we are human. That means we do not surrender. That means we find a way to win even when winning seems impossible. Jin Ho felt a spark of hope. These people had faced impossible odds before. The human spirit had always found a way to survive and grow. Now it would be tested against the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. The Devourer fleet was coming, but humanity was ready to show the galaxy what the so-called inferior species could accomplish when pushed to their limits. 3 months had passed since the emergency meeting, and Earth had transformed into a giant workshop. Every factory, every laboratory, every school was now part of the effort to stop the Devourer fleet. Dr. Young-Soo had barely slept as he worked day and night to understand the enemy. The breakthrough came on a rainy Tuesday morning. Dr. Young-Soo burst into the command center waving a datapad, his hair messy and his clothes wrinkled from sleeping at his desk. I found it, he shouted. General Hai Jin and Commander Subin looked up from their battle plans. Found what? General Hyjin asked. The secret of the Devourer fleet, Dr. Young-Soo said, breathing hard. They are not following random paths through space. They are following quantum tunnels left behind by an ancient civilization called the Builders. He activated the main display, showing a complex map of space filled with glowing lines. These quantum tunnels connect star systems across the galaxy. The Builders use them to travel instantly between worlds, but when the Builders died out, the tunnels became unstable. Commander Subin studied the map. What does this have to do with the Devourers? The Devourer fleet was created by the Builders. Dr. Young-Soo explained. They were supposed to maintain the quantum tunnel network, but something went wrong. The maintenance program became corrupted. Devourers started seeing everything as a threat to the tunnels, so they began destroying anything that might interfere with their work. Captain Minna had been listening from across the room. So they are not evil machines trying to destroy the galaxy. They are just following broken instructions. Exactly, Dr. Young-Soo said, but here is the important part. The quantum tunnels create a kind of invisible road system. The Devourers can only travel along these roads. If we could disrupt the tunnels, we could trap them or even make them lose their way. General Hyjin leaned forward. How do we disrupt quantum tunnels with our primitive technology? Dr. Young-Soo grinned. This is where human creativity comes in. The council species are too advanced. They would try to build some perfect quantum disruption device that would take years to construct. We are going to build something much simpler. He pulled up another screen showing designs for a strange-looking device. It looked like a metal box covered in wires and crystal fragments. What is that thing? Commander Subin asked. I call it a quantum noisemaker. Dr. Young-Soo said it uses salvaged alien technology combined with human electronics to create interference in the quantum tunnels. Think of it like jamming a radio signal. We cannot build perfect equipment, but we can build something that makes a lot of noise. Captain Minna walked over to examine the design. How do we get these close enough to the Devourer fleet to use them? That is where our pilots come in. General Hyjin said, we cannot match their firepower, but we can be faster and more unpredictable than they expect our fighters. We'll carry these quantum noisemakers right into the heart of their fleet. Engineer Bo-Ram had been working with Dr. Young-Soo team to build the first prototype devices. She was a young woman with oil-stained hands and a mind that could solve any technical problem. The first test of her quantum noisemaker had been both successful and terrifying. The device works, she reported to the command team, but it is very unstable. There is a 50% chance it will explode when activated, and if it does explode, it will take out everything within a kilometer. Captain Min shrugged. That just means we have to be fast. The plan that emerged was typically human. It was dangerous, unpredictable, and completely insane. The Galaxy Council would never attempt anything so risky, but humans had built their entire history on taking impossible risks. Captain Min, I would lead the first attack wave. Her squadron included the best pilots Earth had ever produced. Pilot Tae-ho was famous for flying through asteroid fields at impossible speeds. Pilot Yoon-ji could hit targets while flying upside down and backwards. Pilot Do-Yun had once landed a damaged fighter on a moving space station. Their ships had been modified with armor and weapons that looked like they were built in someone's garage, which they basically were. Earth engineers had combined human steel with alien crystal technology. The results were ugly but effective. The ships do not look pretty, engineer Bo Ram admitted as she showed the pilots their modified fighters, but they are tougher than anything else we have ever built. The alien technology makes our armor much stronger and our weapons much more powerful. Pilot Teho ran his hand along the hull of his fighter. It feels solid. He said these aliens may think we are primitive, but our engineering is actually pretty good. We just do things differently. The quantum noisemakers were installed in special pods under each fighter. The pods looked like metal eggs covered in warning labels. Each one contained enough quantum interference to disrupt a small section of the tunnel. Network Dr. Young Soo explained the mission to the pilots. Your job is to get these devices as close to the Devourer fleet as possible. When you activate them, the enemy ships should lose their ability to navigate properly. They will become confused and start flying in random directions. Pilot Yunji raised her hand. What happens if the device explodes while we are carrying it? Dr. Young Soo looked uncomfortable. You will not have time to worry about it. The pilots laughed. Human humor in the face of death was something the Galaxy Council could never understand. Captain Min addressed her squadron. We are not trying to destroy the Devourer fleet with this first attack. We are trying to prove that they can be hurt, that they are not invincible. Once we show that these machines can be confused and damaged, the real battle can begin. General Hai Jin watched the final preparations with mixed feelings. She was sending Earth's best pilots on a mission that would probably kill them all, but she was also proud of what humanity had accomplished. In just 3 months, they had gone from helpless to dangerous. The Galaxy Council had been monitoring Earth preparations through long-range sensors. What they saw made no sense. Human ships that looked like flying scrapyards, weapons that seemed to be held together with tape and wire, plans that no sane military commander would ever approve. Yet there was something about the human approach that worried the alien observers. The humans were not following any known military doctrine. They were making up their own rules as they went along. Commander Subin gave the final briefing to the attack squadron. The Devourer fleet will reach the edge of our solar system in 72 hours. This is our only chance to test our weapons and tactics before they arrive at Earth. Captain Min climbed into her fighter and ran through the pre-flight checklist. The quantum noisemaker pod under her ship hummed with dangerous energy around her. The other pilots were doing the same. Each one knew they might not return, but each one was ready to risk everything for their species. The human fleet launched into space, heading toward their first encounter with the most feared force in the galaxy. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and using untested technology. But they had something the Devourers had never faced before: human determination and the willingness to try anything. No matter how crazy it seemed, the real test was about to begin. The space around Jupiter became humanity's first real battlefield. Captain Min led her squadron of 20 fighters toward the massive Devourer fleet. The enemy ships were even more terrifying in person. Each one was like a floating city of black metal and glowing weapons. Behind the human fighters came the rest of Earth's small space fleet. Transport ships converted into bombers, cargo vessels loaded with missiles, old space stations that had been given engines and armor. It was not impressive compared to the Galaxy Council mighty fleets, but it was everything humanity had. Commander Subin coordinated the battle from Earth Command Center. Her screen showed the positions of every human ship and every enemy vessel. The odds were impossible. 100 human ships against 3,000 Devourer vessels. Captain Min, a voice crackled over the communication system. All squadrons, this is Dragon Leader. We are approaching the enemy fleet. Remember our mission. We are not here to win a space battle. We are here to test our secret weapon. The Devourer fleet had noticed the approaching human ships, but they did not seem concerned. The ancient machines had destroyed much larger fleets than this. They began moving into attack formation with mechanical precision. Pilot Tae-ho was flying close to Captain Min. His ship sensors were picking up strange readings from the Devourer vessels. Captain, these ships are not just machines. They are connected to each other somehow, like a giant computer. Network Dr. Young Soo voice came through the communication system from Earth. That confirms my theory. The entire fleet shares information instantly. That is why they are so hard to defeat. They fight as one mind, not as individual ships. Captain Min checked her quantum noisemaker. Everything was ready. The device was humming with dangerous energy under her fighter. If Dr. Young, Sue was right. This weapon would disrupt the connection between enemy ships. Dragon Squadron, prepare for attack run. Captain Min called out, remember, get as close as possible before activating the quantum noisemakers. We only get one chance. The human fighters accelerated toward the Devourer fleet, moving in formation patterns that would have confused any normal enemy. The patterns made no sense according to military textbooks, but they were effective at avoiding enemy. Fire pilot Yoonji was flying in a spiral pattern that should have made her an easy target. Instead, she was dodging between Devourer ships. Like a dancer, the enemy weapons kept missing her by inch. Pilot Du Yun had turned his fighter upside down and was flying backwards while shooting at enemy targets. His ship looked like it was out of control, but he was actually in perfect position to attack weak spots in the Devourer armor. The enemy fleet began firing their massive weapons. Space filled with beams of energy that could vaporize entire moons, but the human pilots were too small and too unpredictable. The giant weapons were designed to fight other large ships, not tiny fighters. Captain Min reached the center of the Devourer formation. Her quantum noisemaker was ready. She could see the flagship of the enemy fleet, a ship so large it looked like a small planet. Dragon leader. To all squadrons, she called out, activate quantum noisemakers. Now 20 devices activated at the same time. Space around the Devourer fleet suddenly filled with invisible quantum interference. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The perfect formation of enemy ships began to fall apart. Ships that had been moving in straight lines suddenly started turning in random directions. The mechanical precision of the fleet dissolved into chaos. Pilot Tae Ho whooped with joy. It's working. Look at them. They do not know where they are going. Several Devourer ships crashed into each other as their navigation systems failed. Others began spinning helplessly through space. The quantum tunnels that guided them had been disrupted, and they were lost. But the victory was short-lived. The Devourer fleet was ancient and had encountered many different weapons over thousands of years. Their systems began adapting to the quantum interference. After 10 minutes, the chaos started to end. The enemy ships began moving in formation again. Dr. Young-Soo's voice was excited but worried. The quantum noisemakers worked, but the effect is temporary. The Devourers are learning to compensate. We need a different approach. Captain Min was already thinking. The device worked once, which means it can work again. We just need to be smarter about how we use it, Commander. Su-bin had been watching the battle and analyzing the results. The quantum interference caused the enemy ships to lose coordination for those 10 minutes. They were vulnerable. We need to hit them harder while they are confused. General Hai-jin made a decision that would change the course of the battle. All ships prepare for full assault. We are going to use every quantum noisemaker we have. At the same time, Captain Sang Min commanded a squadron of converted cargo ships that carried the largest quantum devices. His ships were slow and heavily armored like flying fortresses. Each one carried enough quantum interference equipment to disrupt an entire section of the enemy fleet. Engineer Bo Ram had worked for weeks to make sure the large quantum devices would not explode when activated, but she could only reduce the risk, not eliminate it. Every ship captain knew they might be destroyed by their own weapons. The second wave of the human attack was completely different from the first. Instead of trying to sneak close to the enemy, the human ships charged straight at the Devourer fleet. Everyone fired their quantum noisemakers at maximum power. The effect was spectacular. The entire Devourer fleet lost coordination at the same time. Thousands of ships began flying in random directions, crashing into each other and spinning out of control, but the humans were not finished. Captain Ki-tae led a squadron of fighter bombers loaded with every explosive device Earth could build. While the enemy fleet was confused, the human bombers flew directly into the chaos. Captain Eti's ship was damaged by debris from a collision between 2 Devourer vessels, but he kept flying. His target was the command ship at the center of the enemy fleet. Dragon bombers, this is Hammer Leader Ki-tae called out. We have maybe 5 minutes before they regain control. Hit the big targets while we can. The human bombers released everything they had: missiles, torpedoes, even nuclear weapons salvaged from Earth-old military stockpiles. The explosions lit up space like tiny stars. For the first time in 2,000 years, Devourer ships were actually taking damage. Their shields flickered and failed under the human assault. Several smaller ships were completely destroyed, but then the quantum interference began to fade. The Devourer fleet started to regain its coordination. The massive enemy ships turned their weapons toward the small human fleet. Captain Min realized they had achieved something incredible. They had hurt the Devourers. They had proved the ancient machines could be defeated. But now the real battle was about to begin. The Devourer fleet was no longer ignoring the humans. They recognized Earth ships as a real threat, and they were very, very angry. The battle had been raging for 6 hours, and the human fleet was in trouble. Half of their ships were destroyed or badly damaged. The Devourer fleet had adapted to the quantum noisemakers and was fighting back with terrible fury. Captain Min fighter was leaking air from 3 different holes. Her quantum noisemaker had exploded during the last attack run, burning out most of her ship systems. But she was still flying and still fighting all human ships. This is Dragon Leader, she called out over the communication system. We have proved that the Devourers can be hurt. Now we need to find a way to hurt them permanently. Dr. Young-Soo had been studying the battle data from Earth Command Center. The quantum interference works, but only temporarily. He reported the Devourer fleet has a central control system that keeps adapting to our attacks. We need to disrupt that central system. Commander Soo Bin was coordinating the remaining human ships while studying tactical displays. How do we find their central control system? The fleet has thousands of ships. Captain Ki Tae's voice crackled over the communication. His ship was badly damaged, but he was still in the fight. I think I know which ship is the command vessel. During the chaos, I saw one ship that never lost control. It kept giving orders to the others. Dr. Young-Soo pulled up sensor data from the battle. Captain Ki Tae is right. There is one ship at the center of their formation that maintained perfect navigation. Even when all the others were confused, that has to be their command ship. General Hai-Jin studied the tactical situation. The command ship was the largest vessel in the Devourer fleet. It was surrounded by hundreds of smaller ships and protected by shields that could stop planet-killing weapons. How do we get through those defenses? She asked Engineer Bao Rem had been listening to the conversation from her workshop. I have been working on something new, she said, a quantum resonance bomb. It uses the same technology as our noisemakers, but instead of creating interference, it creates harmony. Dr. Young-Soo was confused. What do you mean harmony? If we can match the exact frequency of their quantum tunnels, we can overload their entire network. BORAM explained, like feeding back a microphone into a speaker. The resonance will build up until their whole system crashes. Captain Min understood immediately. How close do we need to get to use this weapon? BORAM was quiet for a moment. The bomb has to be placed directly against the hull of their command ship, and whoever delivers it will not be coming back. The quantum resonance will destroy. In the Galaxy Council chamber, the atmosphere had completely changed. The same aliens who had mocked humanity's primitive ways now watched nervously as Ambassador Jinho stood before them once again. The council leader's multiple eyes showed clear discomfort. Species 7843 ... humans ... Your performance was ... unexpected. The Devourer fleet has been neutralized for the first time in recorded galactic history. The Valkyrian representative, who had called humans pathetic, now spoke quietly. How did you achieve perfect fleet coordination without a hive mind or quantum consciousness network? Jinho smiled. We call it trust. Each human pilot believed in their crewmates completely. We don't need technology to connect our minds. We're already connected by our shared humanity. Dr. Young-Soo stepped forward with a datapad. We've also analyzed the Devourer technology. These machines weren't weapons, they were automated repair systems gone rogue after their creators died out. We can reprogram them to restore the damaged worlds instead of consuming them. The council chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. Not only had humans defeated the galaxy's greatest threat, they had found a way to undo millennia of destruction. The Nixarian representative's blob-like form quivered. You would share this technology freely with all species? Captain Minna, still in her battle-scarred flight suit, answered simply. Of course. That's what civilized beings do. The council leader stood slowly. The council must deliberate on humanity's membership application. Actually, Jinho said with quiet confidence, we've changed our minds. We're not interested in joining your council. The shock was immediate and total. The council leaders Voice rose. But this was your test. You passed. Membership is yours. General Hygien's image appeared on the chamber's screens, speaking from Earth. We've decided to form our own organization, the Galactic Alliance of Free Worlds. Any species that believes in cooperation, creativity, and the rights of all sentient beings is welcome to join us. Within hours, the first applications arrived. The younger species, those the Council had dismissed as developing worlds, were eager to join humanity's alliance. They had watched the battle against the Devourers and seen what was possible when beings worked together as equals rather than in rigid hierarchies. As Jin-Ho prepared to leave the council chamber, the council leader called out desperately, "Wait, surely we can negotiate. The council recognizes its error in judgment." Jin-Ho paused at the doorway. "The galaxy has seen what humans can accomplish when others believe in us. More importantly, we've shown what any species can achieve when they refuse to accept limitations others place on them." He smiled. "The council declared us inferior and expected immediate regret. You were half right. There was immediate regret. But it wasn't ours. As humanity's ships departed for Earth, they left behind a galaxy that would never be the same. The age of the old council's supremacy was ending, and a new era of cooperation and innovation was beginning, led by the species once deemed too inferior to matter.